Due to the graphic nature of this program, listener discretion is advised.
Introducing from Atlantic City, New Jersey, weighing in at 210 pounds, your Italian hero, Joey Image!
Hey everybody, how are you? Welcome to episode 34 of That Image Guy. I am your host, your Italian hero, your favorite professional wrestler, That Image Guy, Joey Image. How in the hell are you? It is episode 34, as I said, and it's already freaking March. I mean, it's March 2016. You hear my voice crack right there? 2016. It feels like New Year's Eve was 15 minutes ago, and now it's already March. It's insane. So anyway, how's everyone doing? How's your week been? I hope you've, had a good weekend last weekend and had a good week thus far, and hope you're enjoying your week. I appreciate you downloading and listening and subscribing to this podcast, which I will admit is not amazing, but that's okay. I just do this to kind of entertain myself and people and you, and I appreciate everyone listening and hanging out and bullshitting with me and letting me bullshit right back to you. How in the hell are you? So I'm going to, I hate to say this because I've only said this. This is episode 34. I think I've said this on my last maybe 33 episodes. This is going to be a short episode. I'm going to kind of get to the point, talk about a few things, and then hopefully we'll be out of here soon. And again, I say that every week, and sometimes I don't exactly adhere to that, but maybe this week I will. So, have you been watching Better Call Saul? Is that not like one of the best shows on TV? I mean, Jesus, I loved Breaking Bad. When Breaking Bad was on, I waited until it was in its final season because the previous seasons were all on Netflix. So while the people watching week to week that had already seen everything were in the final season, I was in the first, second, third, etc. So by the time it had ended, I was just up to like the fourth, I think. So I still had a little while to go. And I didn't see spoilers or anything like that. I don't even remember when Breaking Bad was on. I think 07 to maybe 09 or 010 or something like that. And I don't remember seeing a lot of spoilers. I remember kind of having a feeling like, this is probably, it has to happen this way, or, this has to happen in the next episode or whatever. But I never actually remember seeing spoilers for that. And then when Better Call Saul was announced, I was thrilled. And then when the first season was on, I couldn't wait to get started. I was ready. And I like the fact that it was a prequel to Breaking Bad. It wasn't a spin-off. It was technically a spin-off of the character Saul Goodman, but it wasn't a spin-off of the series. You know what I mean? It's its own entity. And you can watch one independent of the other. Of course, Better Call Saul leads into Breaking Bad. I think we're going to see that. My voice just cracked again. What is that, dude? It's 2016. My voice is cracking twice in one 3-minute period. So I'm thinking whenever Saul ends, I guess we'll see the kind of I don't even know what you call it, the phasing into the Breaking Bad series. I guess I don't really know. It would be cool if, I've said this before on like Facebook and Twitter, but it would be cool if in one episode somewhere, because it takes place in Albuquerque, which is where Breaking Bad took place. It would be cool if once Jimmy McGill turns into, kind of gravitates toward the quote-unquote dark side of law or a criminal lawyer thing or whatever, it would be cool if somewhere down the road there was a cameo of Walter White. Even if he was just like, they show Saul like in a supermarket or whatever, just, hey, I'm going to stop by and get some midgets or chicken or spaghetti or whatever. And then he's got like a shopping cart and he's like grabbing boxes of spaghetti. And like while his back is turned and he's grabbing food off the shelf, maybe right behind him you see Walter White kind of walk by. Just a cameo. Don't even look at the camera, don't even acknowledge, no fourth wall breaking, nothing like that. He just walks by and people are like, whoa, cool, Walter White. I just thought that would be kind of cool. I still kind of, think that would be cool. Even if it wasn't Walter White, if it was Skylar White, or if it was, the son kind of cruising around the supermarket, maybe with his mom or something, that would be cool. But, I don't know if we're going to see anything like that, but I think as a viewer and as an enormous fan of both series, I think that would be cool. Anyway, so one thing I don't understand about Better Call Saul, and I'm going to switch topics right after this, they did First of all, after The Walking Dead, they do that show, The Talking Dead, with Chris Hardwick, where they just discuss the episode that had just aired. So, after I keep saying Breaking Bad. after Better Call Saul Season 2, Episode 1, which now was about 3.5 weeks ago, they did Talking Saul, which was just like that, an hour show just talking about the episode that had previously aired. At the end of that episode, Chris Hardwick said, we're going to see how this episode did and see how people reacted to it, and maybe, on Twitter or online or whatever, and see what people thought, and that will determine whether this is a weekly show or whether this is the only episode that we do. So, again, that was about 3.5 weeks ago. I saw a lot of people online that said they loved it, they thought it was so cool. Bob Odenkirk was there, of course, Saul Goodman himself, Vince Gilligan, and I feel bad, I forget the other writer's name, and Kim from the show. They were all there. So there was 4 of them on the couch with Chris Hardwick talking, and they haven't had an episode of Talking Saul since then, but during the commercials, they keep showing this contest saying, hey, enter here at our website, and you'll win 2 free tickets to the finale episode of Talking Saul, which obviously airs right after the season finale of Better Call Saul. So what I don't understand is, they have not had an episode of Talking Saul since the first one. Are they going to have a finale episode, or are they going to ever do another one? It seems like this contest is kind of like out of place if they're not even going to continue this show that they're promising you're going to win tickets to be in the audience for. It just seems kind of weird to me. But anyway, getting off of Saul for a little while, which if you haven't noticed, I love that show. I love the character. Anyway, getting off of that, have you been watching Ink Master? Just started a couple nights ago, I think, this week actually. I don't remember what night it started, but I DVR'd it, the new season. Here's a question for you. For those of you that actually watch Ink Master, what the hell is the deal with the new seasons? The episode started, I think it's Tuesdays actually. It's either Mondays or Tuesdays. It must be Tuesdays because Better Call Saul is on Mondays. So I'm assuming, all right, it's Tuesdays at 10 p.m. and it's the new season, which is season 7. And then on Tuesdays at 11 p.m., there's another new season of Ink Master, but it's a different show. So one of them is called Revenge or something, or Retaliation or something like that. The other one is called Redemption. So which is which? Why are there... I haven't seen Ink Master since about season 3, season 4. It got to be the same... I mean, it is. Not got to be. It is. The same thing every single season. It's obviously just different contests or different challenges for the artists, but really, overall, it's the same show. Just with a different cast every season. And, you've seen one, you've seen most of them. So for those of you that actually, still continue to watch it, I don't understand. Can you explain to me the difference between Revenge and Redemption and why they're both on the same night, 1 hour from each other, and are they both at the same season? I don't understand. And then tonight, my girlfriend and I watched just a single episode special, and I don't know what it was really called because we watched it via the on-demand service for Optimum Cable, and it was just called Ink Master $9.98. What does that mean? I mean, is that like, is that how much it costs to put it together? I didn't get it. And that was just one special where they had 4 women that were like the 4 best tattooers in Ink Master history or something like that. And they all went against each other, and whoever won got 10 grand. And they got the bragging rights to say, hey, I won I won a series on Ink Master. And it was really just one episode, but thankfully Sarah Miller won, who I love. I met her once a few years ago at Comic-Con. She was the sweetest girl ever. I just don't understand what's up with the 2 separate episodes, and are they 2 different casts? I didn't see one of them. I watched the one called Revenge. I didn't see the Redemption show, so I don't know if it's like different casts and they're just doing different challenges, or is this a way for them to bring in, normally there's 9 people, I believe, so, or 9 or 10, I think, as far as tattoo artists go. So is this a way, by having a second show, is it a way for them to bring in 9 more people so they can have 18 people on TV, and then maybe the 2 winners will go against each other or something? I don't really understand it. I didn't look that deep into it either. I mean, instead of Googling, I'm asking you people to help me out. So can you do that for me, please? Hook a brother up. Thanks. All right. So we're at almost 9 minutes already, and I haven't talked about anything except Better Call Saul and Ink Master. Jeez. Hey, here's something that I'm wondering if you've seen, and I kind of hinted at. I was going to talk about this on Twitter and Facebook, and a couple of people were interested because of a story that comes out of this. But have you seen the Tower Records documentary yet, entitled All Things Must Pass? If you haven't, I suggest you check it out. If you're a fan of music, definitely check this out. If you're a fan of music and Tower Records, or record stores in general, or if you miss going to a store and physically buying a vinyl record, or buying a CD or even a cassette. I mean, just watch this documentary. It's so friggin' good. It's about a store that was more than a store, really. And you'll understand, it might sound silly by saying it's more than a store, it's a lifestyle. But if you watch the documentary, you'll understand. I mean, it was like a huge, like, family thing, and you know, everyone that worked there, while not everyone was related, obviously, but it was very much like a family. I mean, I didn't know any of this stuff. I just watched the documentary and saw it. But I can tell you, as far as non-wrestling documentaries, my two favorite wrestling documentaries are Memphis Heat and The Old Boys. My third probably would be maybe Beyond the Mat, which is 1,000 years old now. But anyway, as far as non-wrestling, I would say that this is probably my favorite documentary I've ever seen. Again, it's called All Things Must Pass. If you go on Twitter, it's at Tower Records Doc, D-O-C. And if you know me at all, you know I love documentaries. I mean, I love, like, Craigslist Joe, for example, is a great documentary. Or Google Me was a great documentary. The Making a Murderer, that was a great kind of series, you know, mini-series / documentary. But, I mean, you know what I'm saying. Basically, those are my favorites. But this All Things Must Pass movie, it was just, just go on Amazon and get it. It was like, I don't know, $17 for the Blu-ray, something like that. But if you ever cared about music in your life, it's definitely something to check out. And it kind of explains and you know, displays to you how music got so big, especially music on a particular medium. Again, whether it's cassettes or vinyls or even CDs. Nowadays it's MP3s and iTunes or whatever, you know, Pandora, however we get our music nowadays. But the documentary itself details how it became so prominent and how music became so much more than, you know, just something to check out for entertainment, but really it became more of a subculture almost, and, you know, a part of our own culture that it's so important. I mean, there's, you know, music for any reason that it's so important to people, you know, since then and till now, and obviously that'll continue. But as far as just the documentary itself, super amazing. I have a couple of stories revolving around Tower Records. That there used to be one, I don't know, 15 minutes from my house. It was about 5 or 6 miles away on a major highway right by me on Route 17 in Paramus, New Jersey. And let me say, before I even get into the details of the story, this is not something I condone. This was like 1994, 95. I was like 16, 17 years old. I was young and dumb, and kids do stupid shit. So just to cover my ass, don't try this at home. I used to go to this store all the time until I got banned. And the banned part is what people seem to be interested in on Facebook and Twitter this past few days when I was talking about this documentary. So what happened was, I'm going to try to make this quick, although it's probably not a quick story. My friend John and myself used to always go to Tower. There was as soon as you walked into the Tower Records that we always went to. By the way, there was a second one in Nanuet, New York, which is probably about, I don't know, 11 or 12 miles from here. Not as close, but the Paramus store was not open on Sundays due to New Jersey's blue laws. So New York stores are open on Sundays, so we would go up there on Sundays sometime. I used to always buy 2600 magazine, which is a hacker magazine, a computer hacker magazine, and it's privately owned and privately distributed, I believe. So not a lot of places actually sell it. So right now, in fact, I can only find it at Micro Center. Barnes & Noble used to have it, but I haven't been there in so long, I have no idea if they still do. But for a long time, Tower Records was the only place that would have it, because they had like homemade fanzines and stuff like that. So when I went to Tower, I would always make sure I picked up 2600 magazine. But anyway, back to the original story was how I got banned from Tower Records. So when we used to go to the Ticketmaster at the front, as soon as you walk in, it was right at the front counter there. Now, I had another friend whose name I'm not going to mention, who at one point had a job there as head of security. So he would be the guy. And this was when they had separate rooms. So those of you that remember Tower Records, at least this one, I had only been to those two. I don't know if they were all had the same layout or whatever, but this one, you would walk in on, like, the door was on the corner of the building. So you'd walk in, directly in front of you was the Ticketmaster. That was at the end of the register counter. And then if you kept going straight back, that's where the room, there was a separate double doors, a separate room with classical music and stuff like that. And then if you came in and made a right, you would go down that aisle. There was another separate room back there that had movies and stuff like that. Right in the center is where all the vinyls and tapes and eventually CDs and the magazines and stuff like that. That was all in the center of the store. Obviously, that was their highest, selling stuff. So if you walked in and you go right where the Ticketmaster is, I had a friend who used to kind of just hang out there. He was head of security. And at the time that my friend was head of security, another guy that I knew but wasn't necessarily friends with, he was the guy that was the store manager. He was the brother of a guy that I graduated high school with. So we only knew each other because of that. So, like I said, my friend's security station, I guess you would call it, where he hung out during his security shifts, obviously watching the door, watching the store, that was at the Ticketmaster counter, which again was right by the entrance. There were times where he would go into the other rooms, again, where the movies were, where the classical CDs and stuff were, and kind of just, poke his head in and keep an eye on things, make sure everything's on the up and up, there's nothing going on, and blah, blah, blah. Now, what people didn't know, that I only knew because I was friends with this guy for a long time, was that he was the biggest thief in the store. So, I'll give you an example. Every Tuesday was new release day. So he would kind of come home, whenever he got a chance, he would get the list of new releases that were coming in the next couple of weeks. So he would bring that home with him, and sometimes he'd call me and go, "Hey, I have this list, why don't you come down and check out what's coming out?" So I'd be like, "Oh, okay, cool." So we'd be hanging out, I'd go to his house, or we'd meet up wherever, and he would have the list with him, and I'd go through it and say, "Oh, dude, new Megadeth is coming out next week, new Guns N' Roses, new Metallica, whatever. Hey, I want that and that and that." So when they came out, I guess regular CDs were like $16.99 or something like that. And I think tapes were like $13.99 or $10.99. I don't know. I only bought CDs, eventually. I bought tapes and stuff too, but these stories only occurred during the CD eras. So say a new CD came out and it was $16.99. For me, because my friend was head of security, it would be $5. So what he would do basically was there were switches that would turn off the alarms in the store. So when you walk in, you buy a CD, you walk in through this little, not necessarily metal detector, but, like the little security station that you walk through. And when you buy your CD, there's the little metal sticker security tag deal on it. So when you go through, if they don't deactivate that tag at the register, there's still stores that have this today. When you walk out, Walmart's got them, I think. But when you walk out, if they haven't deactivated the security sticker tag at the register, you'll beep. You go back to the register. "Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to desensitize the tag." They click the little gimmick on the tag, and then you leave, and you're good to go. So, but what my buddy would do was, because he was head of security, he would just go into the back room, because he obviously knew where all the switches were to turn off the certain alarms, and he would just flip the switch and turn the alarm off or turn the sensor off and say, he would come out. When he would come out and nod his head, I knew that we were good to go. So either I would walk out first or he would walk out first. It really didn't matter. But if I walked out first, I would always park way in the back. So if you pulled into the store, there were spots right by the door. And then if you go in the back, there was obviously a rear parking lot, and there were spots there was a building next to it that was another store. I would either park in that lot, but, as close to the Tower Records lot as I could. There was also a back entrance to Tower, and I would park back there as far away as I could, but still like within walking distance, obviously. So we would go outside. If I went out first, I would just sit in my car, or if he went out first, he would just I would leave my doors unlocked. But basically, every CD I wanted was $5. So he would just walk outside, put them in my car, in a bag. He would leave them in a bag, and he always brought a backpack with him to work. So when he had like food, and he would have like his cigarettes in there and like a couple of sodas, because he always worked these long shifts. He was the only real security guy there. So he would work, 10, 12-hour shifts sometimes. So he would bring a backpack full of like snacks and junk food and sodas and his cigarettes, stuff like that. So he had, stuff for the night to eat or whatever. So he would, again, take whatever CDs I wanted, throw them in his bag, flip off the security alarm so it didn't work, obviously, when he left. And then he would walk out, go to my car, put them in my car, and then, again, a few days or sometimes even a couple of weeks ahead of time, he would bring me the list of new releases so I would know which CDs were coming out, and I would say, "Hey, $5 for this one, $5 for that one," whatever it is. Say I wanted like 4 CDs. That's $20, $5 a piece. I would leave an envelope with a $20 bill on my driver's seat when I got out of the car. So then when I would go into the store, I would find him, say hello, shake his hand, "Hey, how are you?" whatever. And then I would go look around and browse, and he would take whatever the 4 CDs I wanted were for that week. He would put them in a plastic bag and then put that in his backpack. He would go outside to my car, which would be unlocked with a $20 bill waiting for him, or whatever the money was. And he would leave them in my car, take the 20, hang out outside for a little while because he had to act like he was out there doing something. He couldn't just walk out and come right back in, multiple times, sometimes in a week, because that would seem suspicious. So he would always go outside. Usually he would have a cigarette or something like that, and he would come back in and say, I just went out for a smoke. He would come in, go to the back office or the back stock room or whatever, flip the switch back on for the alarm, and everything would be good. I would go to my car. I'd have 4 brand new CDs for $5 a piece. $20 each, which usually with tax they were $17 or $18 anyway. So I'm kind of getting 4 CDs for the price of 1. So I would do this, multiple times. Like I said, sometimes more than once in a week. I mean, sometimes I would go on new release day, Tuesday. I'd go back Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, or any combination of all those days. And I'm hoping by now, in 2016, I'm hoping the statute of limitations has run out on me talking about this. But hey, who knows if I'm even telling the truth or if I'm lying, any law enforcement officials that are listening. But anyway, so that's what we did. So the way that we got caught was, actually, I'll tell a funny kind of spin-off story after this. But the way that we got caught was, I went in there the last time this happened, obviously, because we got caught. I wanted something. I mean, I got greedy. That's basically what happened. There were times where I went in there, and just to make it look good, I would go in there and buy a whole bunch of stuff, legitimately buy stuff. So if there were $16 DVDs, I'd buy 3 or 4 of them to kind of not really pay it back, but just kind of to make it look like I was just a regular customer that just happened to love the store, which I did. I mean, like I said, I went to 2 Tower Records very often. I spent a lot of money, despite the $5 CD deal. I spent a lot of money at Tower Records, both of the 2 that I used to go to. But what happened was, one day I got greedy and I wanted 7 CDs, and there was a Led Zeppelin box set that came out. It was a 10-disc CD box set. It was called The Complete Studio Recordings. It was everything that Led Zeppelin recorded on CD. It was 10 discs. It was so awesome. I still want that to this day, and I don't have it. But it was such an awesome box set. So that was, when it came out, it was something like $120. And it was amazingly popular, of course. So the day that it came out, I had to make a trip to Tower Records. So what I did was I went down there. My buddy already knew. Like I said, told him ahead of time. He already knew that and whatever the other CDs I wanted were. I gave him, for that one, instead of, like I said, all the CDs I wanted were $5 each. This Led Zeppelin box set was $10. Wow. So basically, what we did was he took the CDs, he went out the same way we always did, except this time, the guy that I mentioned earlier, who was head of security, was outside. Let me backtrack. I don't know how they caught wind of this happening, but I'm assuming because the only reason that they caught wind was because things obviously went missing and they were kind of losing money, obviously, because items were being taken. And he was the head of security. So how did he not notice, all this shrink? That's what I'm assuming. I have no idea. But anyway, so he went outside to give me the Led Zeppelin box or whatever, and the head of security guy was out there. I'm sorry, the store manager guy was out there. And again, I knew him. I knew him through a guy that I went to high school with. So my buddy came back inside and still with the bag, and I was like, what's up, dude? He's like, I can't do it right now. You're gonna have to go. So I'm like, all right, I'll call you later. So I took off. He called me a couple of days later, explained to me what happened, that he actually was caught. They saw him flip the switch. There was a camera. There were cameras around, but he knew where they were. So he knew how to avoid them. So there was one that was backstage. There's one in the back room. Management had pointed it towards where the switches were for all the alarms. So they saw him flip the one alarm off, go out with a bag. They figured it out. And then they went back and looked at old surveillance camera footage, and they noticed every time I was in the store, he would leave the store with his backpack a few minutes after I came in. He would go outside, have a cigarette or whatever, and then come back in afterwards, and I would say hello, goodbye, whatever, and that's it. So they kind of put the 2 and 2 together and figured out that him and I were doing this. And again, my friend John used to come with me too once in a while. He was also doing it, but I mean, I was greedy. Like I said, I was in there every week, sometimes 2-3 times a week. John was in there maybe once a month, if that. So, kids do stupid stuff. I was doing this in 93, 94 when I was in high school, 95, and I would get the CDs for $5, and I would either sell them at school to friends for $10 usually, because even at $10, it was still making, I would still be making a profit because I paid $5 for them. And my buddies wouldn't be paying $16, $17 for a CD. They'd be paying $10. So this Led Zeppelin box set, in fact, was for somebody else. not for me, but I wanted it myself. But it was for a guy that I went to school with, and obviously that didn't work out. But funny side story to this long story. Fast forward maybe a year, maybe 8 months, and I hadn't been in the store since because, again, I knew that they figured it out. So I didn't want to go in there and have people follow me around and people think I'm suspicious or whatever. So I just didn't go back for a while. But when I finally did go back, it was to fill out a job application and hopefully to get interviewed. So I went in there on a day where I guess they were short people. So I went in, I filled out an application. The manager asked me, all right, can you come in the back and interview right now? Because we're shorthanded. We can hire people. You know, we need help. And I wanted a job. So of course I said, yeah, absolutely. Let's go right now. So we go back there. He tells me, okay, go into this office and sit down. I'll be right back. I have to go do a couple things up front, and then I'll get with you in a second. I said, okay, cool. So I'm sitting there waiting. I'm just looking around, not doing anything. Again, I mean, no cell phones in these days, so I didn't really have much to do. Just sitting there kind of hanging out. And I just happened to glance up at the wall, and on the top left, and again, this was a manager. This was not the store manager guy that I knew, who at this point didn't work there anymore, but this was a manager. So I look up, and I notice on the wall, there's a little, I don't even know what you call it, a flyer, I guess, with a picture of me and my friend John on it saying, like, watch out for these guys. Do not let these two men in the store, something like that. And I guess because it was so old, people didn't recognize me, or it had just been there for so long that they kind of just didn't even bother looking at it anymore because that had been up there for so long and I hadn't been there in so long. So I basically ripped it off the wall, you know, crumbled it up and put it in my pocket, and I just quietly walked out of the store, avoided this guy, and left, and never went back to that one, at least. I used to go to the one in Nanuet all the time until they closed. So that's my Tower Records story and how I became banned from it. And like I said before, I gotta repeat, man, just don't do this at home, please. I was young and stupid, and at the time it was probably fun, but what do I know? I mean, I grew up to become a wrestler. That's how, you know, not smart I am. But when it was around, it was a really, really cool store. Someplace I always wanted to work at because they didn't have a dress code. That was the main reason. I mean, you could smoke in the stores. It was insane. I mean, if you watch the documentary, you'll see cash register people and clerks or whatever smoking while they're ringing up customers. It's amazing. But, yeah, that was my story. A couple of people, again, asked me on Facebook, like, how'd you get banned from Tower Records? Well, that's how I got banned from Tower Records. And without even knowing it, because, like I said, when my buddy got caught with the Led Zeppelin box set, I walked out, I took off and left, and I hadn't been back there since until that day that I applied for a job. So I didn't even know that my picture was up on the wall in the back of the store in the manager's office. So I just, you know, when I got to my car, obviously I kind of giggled about it, thought it was kind of funny and coincidental, but I never went back to that store. And, you know, I don't know what happened with that manager or that position after I left, and they realized that I took off and didn't wait for the guy to come back. And I don't know if they ever even noticed that, like, hey, this flyer was on the wall that said, don't let this guy in the store. Hey, that's, you know, 2 and 2. What does that equal? Oh, that must have been the same guy that was on the flyer. I don't know if they ever figured that out. I never heard another word about it. After my friend got caught, they fired him, and the store manager that I knew through the guy that I graduated high school with wasn't working there at the time anymore either, so I never heard anything about what was going on. I no longer knew anyone that worked there, so I had no way of finding out anything. So I just kind of let it go, and luckily nothing ever happened to me. But I still do miss the store. I mean, there were times where I was an actual customer, and I do miss that place. It was really awesome. I'm going to kind of let you go right now. I'm almost coming up to about 30 minutes. Actually, let me throw in one quick other place I miss. Also on Route 17, also in Paramus, right across the street from the Tower Records, right across the highway, Sports World. If any of you guys remember Sports World, it was basically an indoor amusement park. They had like an ice hockey rink and basketball courts. They had like a snack bar with a bunch of tables. They had mini golf. They had a laser tag room, a gigantic room with laser tag. They had a million video games. They had skee ball. It was basically an indoor amusement park. And at times there were companies that would have wrestling shows there. The wrestling, the ring would go on the floor where the basketball court was, or sometimes it was on where the ice skating rink and stuff were. They used to have that, what was the name of the arcade game that you would shoot a gun? It was like something Quick Draw McGraw or something like that. They had that game there that there was always a ton of people at. I used to go there and just play Mortal Kombat for like hours at a time. I really miss Sports World. That place was awesome. If you live around here or you've ever been around where I live and you know where the Elks Lodge is on Route 17 South in Paramus, that's where ECPW runs a lot of shows. If you pull into that building, I forget what's the first building you see. I think it's like a car dealership maybe, but behind that is where the Elks Lodge is. That building, that first building, that was Sports World, and it was so cool, man. It was like if you ever heard of Kids World when you were younger, and it was like a big amusement park. It was outdoors. It was in Long Branch, New Jersey. This was like the adultish version of that, or like the teen version of that. Sports World on a Saturday, I can spend anywhere from like $50-$60 there just playing games all day. It was such an awesome place. But anyway, I'm going to cut this off right now. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. That's my Tower Record story, and my Sports World story, and my confusion about Better Call Saul and Talking Saul, and my mass confusion about Ink Master. If you guys have the answers to any of these questions and more, and any other life's questions, send me a message on Twitter, please, at JoeyImage. Follow me, tweet me, say hello, DM me, smack me in the head with a halibut, whatever you want. Follow me on Facebook as well, or add me as a friend on Facebook, facebook.com/real JoeyImage. Please check me out on YouTube, youtube.com/JoeyImage. And one of the most important places on the online interwebs that you can find me, prowrestlingtees.com/JoeyImage. Thank you all for listening, and I will see you on my next show.
This has been a presentation of the Three Ropes Media Network. For more,